Hi, welcome to the Vinyl Record Collector. I'm going to do a short series on my record collection, certainly the important albums that I have. And I'm going to start with probably the most important of them all from my point of view, because it started my collection, and that's Led Zeppelin II. This was the actual copy of the record that I got in August 1970. It is a first issue. This record came out in October 1969. It's a classic rock album. I think pretty much everybody watching this will know this album. And it is what they call an orange and plum label. It has an A5, B4 matrix, which, if you know about the Atlantic pressings and the way they were pressed, that doesn't make it a fifth issue or a fourth issue or anything, but it's certainly, these were produced in very large runs, and an A5 B4 is still going to be an extremely early pressing, and definitely all the indications from everything on the album is that everything in the set, if you like, is that this is what you call certainly a first issue of this iconic album. The music is absolutely fantastic. It's been used so many times in films and TV series and things like the Old Grey Whistle Test and that kind of thing. So it doesn't really need any further explanation from me. If you like blues rock, then you're going to love Led Zeppelin II. If you haven't heard it, if you don't have it, and you want a rock album collection, it's absolutely a must-have. Now, my copy's been well used over the year, 47 years. This is a survivor. It still plays absolutely brilliantly. It's testament to the fact that you can have a few light scratches on a record, and trust me, these are barely noticeable, even in the quiet tracks, and in the short pauses between tracks. There's hardly any noise on this, which just goes to show that you can have an album which clearly has hairline scratches, but actually still plays extremely well. So I don't necessarily get put off when I'm collecting by those kind of marks. They tend to be very superficial. They're on the very top of the lands. They're not deep into the groove, so you tend not to get any sound from them. And as long as your stylus is good and your turntable is set up pretty well, you should get good sound out of these things. Anyway, that's that copy. Now I keep it in a later inner. Whoops! Just as nearly came to its end then. Just as a way of protecting a little bit more. Originally, and I'll take the cover out. This would be this is what you call a light brown cover. It's seen better days. The spine's unreadable. I didn't always keep my record covers in polythene, so you know it's had to survive being pulled out of shelves. So you've got ring wear. Not too bad, the ring wear on the front, to be honest. You've got a little bit of the wear due to the flap itself, the way it's constructed. A little bit of ring wear down here. But essentially, it's still a fairly good intact cover. There it is inside. So it was number one for me. It was my first purchase. I actually bought that with money that my parents gave me for my 15th birthday. They gave me a record token, enough to buy an album. I think they probably wish they'd bought me something for my bike or something. I mean, they always hated Led Zeppelin, and luckily I didn't have headphones in those days, so they could never say, well, put your headphones on. I always had to play it normally. I didn't have a very good system for playing it on, but for that same birthday I did get a Garrard SP25 Mark III record player, and I played it on there. Now, when I was living in the States, I was always going around the charity shops, the thrift stores, as you call them over there, looking for albums, and I've collected thousands of albums from thrift stores. This is another copy of the same album. This is on Atlantic. Its catalogue number is SD 19121. And this one's in rather better shape cover wise. It's got a few splashes on it, almost kind of muddy like splashes. Very, very heavy cover, and a good spine with clearly legible Led Zeppelin. And in fact, it's interesting that I've never really noticed before now, but all it says is Led Zeppelin. It doesn't say Led Zeppelin II on the spine. Atlantic SD 19127. Again, obviously no barcode. Inside, the credit is we got a produced by Jimmy Page. Got the Lemon song listed. No reference to the Killing Floor on here. Atlantic Recording Corporation, 1841 Broadway, New York. Now, the thing that confused me about this, and maybe somebody out there can answer this, is that says 1841 Broadway on it and has SD 19127, which I understood to be a 1977 reissue. And here's the actual album. Now, on the inner for this album, it actually has 75 Rockefeller Plaza. Okay, so it doesn't have 1841 Broadway. And similarly, on the record itself, on the label, it actually has 75 Rockefeller Plaza. And it's a correct catalogue number, SD 19127, for a 1977 issue. But I'm wondering whether there was a period when the covers were printed 1841 Broadway and the label was printed with the Rockefeller Plaza address, or whether this is simply a case of a record has been put into the wrong cover over the years. So maybe somebody can answer that for me, because I don't know the answer to that. I've looked that up on various records sites. There's lots of sites dedicated to Led Zeppelin collecting, but haven't had a good answer to that yet. So there we are. That was the first of the whole thing, and say they both play very well still. They're survivors. One of them even survived thrift stores. Obviously, it's going through the wars. It's gone through the wars a little bit, but you know, the liner has still done its job. The record is still playable, and I still enjoy listening to it. And if you don't have it, I recommend you go out and get this album. It's absolutely fantastic, and it's an essential component of any serious rock collection. Thanks for watching.